In the 1950s, the CIA secretly conducted experiments on human subjects. They were given LSD, subjected to hypnosis, isolation, and other methods of psychological pressure. Many of them had no idea they had become test subjects. The program was called mkultra. For a long time, it lived only in rumors and conspiracy theories. But today, part of the documentation has been declassified. In this video, we'll look at what the CIA documents actually say, what kinds of experiments were carried out, and what the agency was forced to admit during hearings in the US Congress. After World War II, the world split into two camps: the United States and its allies versus the USSR and the Socialist Bloc. The Cold War began. There were no open battles between the superpowers, but there was an arms race, an intelligence war, and psychological warfare. In the early 1950s, stories spread in the US that Soviet and Chinese intelligence services had supposedly learned how to brainwash people. Prisoners of war returning from Korea sometimes gave strange testimonies. Newspapers started publishing articles about communist mind control. For CIA leadership, this looked like a new kind of threat. If the enemy could bend human will to its purposes, then the United States not only had to catch up, but surpass them in this field. In 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles approved the launch of a new secret program. It received the code name mkultra. Within the CIA, it was described as a study of biological and chemical methods of influencing human behavior. The program was headed by a chemist, Sidney Gottlieb, a man with a PhD and a reputation as an expert on poisons and drugs. Declassified documents mention dozens of mkultra sub-projects. Experiments were carried out through front organizations, university grants, private clinics, and prisons. Officially, these were scientific studies. Unofficially, it was an attempt to understand how to break a human personality and whether a person could become fully controllable. One of the main directions of mkultra was studying the effects of LSD and other substances on the human mind. In the early 1950s, LSD was just beginning to be explored by Western scientists. Some psychiatrists hoped it could help treat depression and alcoholism. The CIA saw something else in it: the potential to use LSD as a weapon. Documents mention experiments where LSD was given to CIA employees, sometimes with their consent, and sometimes without any warning. In one of the most famous cases, an employee named Frank Olson was secretly given LSD during an off-site meeting. A few days later, he died after falling from a hotel window. For a long time, this was officially called a suicide. Only years later did Olson's family learn that he had been a subject in an mkultra experiment. They eventually forced the US government to issue an official apology and pay compensation. Another major part of the program involved experiments in prisons and psychiatric hospitals. The CIA made informal arrangements with certain doctors and facility administrators. Inmates and patients were offered participation in medical research, sometimes in exchange for lighter conditions or other benefits. In practice, people could be given high doses of psychoactive drugs, subjected to prolonged isolation, deprived of sleep, and exposed to combinations of medication, hypnosis, and other forms of pressure. An important point: many participants did not fully understand what exactly was being done to them or what the consequences could be.
Senate and in several court cases, this is explicitly described as a violation of human rights and of basic medical.
One of the most unusual mkultra sub-projects became known unofficially as Midnight Climax. The CIA rented several safe apartments. Inside, they installed hidden cameras and one-way mirrors. Through intermediaries, they hired prostitutes who would bring clients to these locations. Some of those people had LSD secretly slipped into their drinks. CIA officers watched what happened, from the next room, through the mirror, or via video feeds. The official goal was to see how people behaved under the influence of LSD in a real-life situation, and whether such substances could be used for blackmail, interrogation, and manipulation.
From an ethical standpoint, this was a blatant violation of privacy and human rights.
But within a secret program, considerations like that were often pushed aside. For a long time, only a small circle inside the CIA knew about mkultra.
That began to change in the early 1970s. In the United States, public distrust of the intelligence community was growing against the backdrop of the Vietnam War, mass protests, and the Watergate scandal. Journalists started investigating CIA activities inside the country, and in 1974 to 1975, they published reports about secret experiments carried out on U.S. citizens. Public outrage forced the U.S. Congress to create a special committee, the so-called Church Committee, named after Senator Frank Church. At the hearings, CIA representatives were forced to acknowledge the existence of mkultra and to disclose some aspects of the program. It also emerged.
In 1973, CIA Director Richard Helms had ordered a large portion of mkultra records destroyed.
What we know today comes from surviving documents, financial records, individual internal memos, and testimony from participants collected by congressional committees. Over the decades, a huge number of myths have grown up around mkultra. It's important to separate what is confirmed by documents from what remains in the realm of speculation and fantasy. Here are the facts acknowledged by U.S. authorities and congressional committees. The mkultra program really existed. The CIA did conduct experiments with LSD and other substances, as well as with hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and other methods of psychological influence. CIA employees, prisoners, hospital patients, and at times ordinary citizens took part in these experiments. In many cases, people were not fully informed or did not know at all that they were being used as test subjects. Some documents were destroyed on orders from CIA leadership. At the same time, many popular theories about the mass creation of zombie killers or total control of society through mkultra are not supported by the declassified materials. That doesn't mean the program was harmless. On the contrary, even the confirmed facts look dark enough without adding extra legends on top.